Hey, just finished recording a podcast with Ashok Kirti, who is a researcher at the University of Manchester, and he's researching on graphene and the beautiful tunnels or capillaries that are made in these 1 or 2 or 3 layers of graphene, which is the carbon atoms arranged in a honeycomb lattice, and how these are created, and about Ashok's journey in science, the research journey, and we talked about a lot of interesting things. So can't wait for you to watch the video. Do consider subscribing and liking the content that we create on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. Do share it with your friends. Your support means everything to us. We are a very small channel run by volunteers, so please do share and interact and watch the entire video. Thank you very much. Hi everyone, I am Pranoti, your host of Under the Microscope podcast, and today we have an amazing guest with us, and I'm totally not biased when I say this because he is also working on graphene. We have Ashok Kirti, who is a presidential fellow at the University of Manchester in England. By the way, Manchester is also the birthplace of graphene and all of that. So welcome Ashok. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Pranoti. Thank you very much.
Before I get started with the science itself, I do have a question for you. What is a presidential fellow? What do you shake hands with the president on a regular basis, or what does it mean?
Right. That's very interesting. So the presidential in the UK, we have 2 streams for the assistant professor level. So one is mostly a research-based assistant professorships. The other is research plus teaching. So the presidential fellow is a kind of research fellow route, which is equivalent to assistant professor in broader context, but mostly focusing on the research side, with a minimal amount of teaching. So
so you can completely focus on the research and you do not have to think too much about the teaching part.
Majority of the time goes to the research, and we do still participate in teaching.
Okay, excellent. That sounds actually very cool. So, Ashok, please explain your research to us in super simple words, please. I mean, we were talking earlier, and I think your research is super fascinating. So, tell our followers what your research is all about, what you're doing right now.
Right. So, I think let me start with the famous example, what Manchester is known for. So the graphite, how the Manchester gave birth to the graphene, just peeling one layer of the graphene from the graphite crystal.
Right.
And that's how the graphene is invented and the Nobel Prize is presented. So that's all the story which is now progressing the 2D materials research. But now in Manchester, what we are doing, instead of removing from the on the surface of the 2D crystal and removing one layer of 2D material. So if we are removing something from the middle of the crystal and making such kind of tunnels, these are atomic scale tunnels. So for example, if I remove one layer of the graphene from the graphite crystal, so I will be just making a tunnel which is only 1 atom thick. So one layer is missing, that is 3.4 angstroms, the thickness of the graphene. So we essentially making such kind of capillaries in the 2D materials, and we wanted to study the molecular transport of filtrations using such atomic scale capillaries.
Oh my God, that is so cool. So you're basically digging nanotunnels in like a graphite stack. You do or is there like a number of layers that you have, like a particular number of graphene layers, or is it like, do you take a stack of graphite?
Right. Yes, that's a trick which is again well known in 2D materials research now. When people make different 2D materials, stacking them together. So the term which is used is heterostructures. Van der Waals heterostructures is the term in 2D materials. So we are using a similar technique, but stacking 3 crystals together. In the middle crystal, we are making such kind of ribbons of a 2D material, and then keeping those ribbons as a middle layer, spacer layer between the top and bottom crystal, putting them together to end up with such kind of 2D tunnels.
So
this is exactly looks like you removing one layer from the middle of the crystal and making such capillaries.
Oh my God. So you start with the first, let's say, I don't know, this is a very bad example. Probably you take a slice of bread, which is the bottom layer. Then you have, let's say, like a tomato slice or whatever. And then on top you have the bread, and then you remove the tomato. But the two, oh my God, this is so cool. I thought, oh my God, I was wondering how you create it.
That's exactly what you're doing. So for example, this is a 2D crystal. You peel it off and then make a slice which is as a bottom layer, and then just take one layer of graphene or other 2D material, then pattern that into ribbons, and then you place on top of the bottom layer. Then you put another top layer so that you have two spacers sitting. And you create such kind of tunnels.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like this, and then you close with another one.
Oh my God.
Already made it.
Cool. And what is the gap? Is there like have you played with the gap, or let's say the height of the tunnel?
Yes. So yes, because now you're placing this mechanically together, in a very simple manner. So you have a control on how many spacer layers you want to keep in. You take a monolayer graphene, which is essentially 3.4 angstroms in thickness.
But 3.4 angstroms, that would be 0.34 nanometers, correct?
Yes, exactly. That's right. So it's...
Oh my God. Okay.
1 nanometer. Now we are in lower than nanometer regime. So if you multiply those layers in the middle, like let's say you take 2 layers of graphene spacer.
Correct.
And that is 6.8 angstroms.
Correct. More than half. This is very thick, I must say.
So yeah, we can control with the multiples of 3.4 angstroms or 0.34 angstroms to n number of spaces that you want. So you can precisely have a nanostructure, a nanotunnel, or nano capillary.
That is so cool. So based on the application, if there is like someone walking, then the height is different. If there is a car, the height is higher, like bigger or higher. If there is a truck, then you have a high. Oh my God! Sorry, I'm just going with like sandwiches and tunnels and everything.
That's very relevant. That's exactly what we're doing. So it's like now you're controlling such traffic, molecular traffic, by increasing the barrier height.
Wow.
If you only want the cycles or the pedestrians, then you lower it down and then say only these allowed.
That is amazing.
Do that at the molecular scale.
That is so cool. And everyone who's listening to the podcast only, please check out the video on Spotify or on YouTube where Ashok showed his models, and you will get it instantly. If you haven't had a chance to, if you can't visualize the nanotunnels so far, please watch the YouTube channel, the YouTube video on the Science Talk YouTube channel. And yeah, oh my God, this is so fascinating. Okay, Ashok, now I want to know more. So how did you end up being the nano tunnel creator and moderator, or however I call it? How did you end up basically as a presidential fellow at the University of Manchester? How did that happen? Tell me about your journey, please.
Wow. Yes, so it's a bit unconventional way I end up here. So basically I'm a chemist. I trained as a chemist. I studied till my master's in India. And then I did my PhD in synthetic organic chemistry in Singapore, National University of Singapore. So then I did my first postdoctoral research in Germany, Max Planck Institute for Polymer Research. So again, I was working on polymers, macromolecules, again, also on the graphene nanostructures. So those are like fragments of graphene. You take a graphene sheet and cut it into small fragments. So we used to make such nano graphenes from the bottom up approach. Like, let's say, take one ring that is equivalent to one benzene ring, few rings together, you fuse the rings as you want, and then you make a nanostructure precisely. So that's what my background is. But when I came to Manchester, so I was completely into a different side of the graphene, taking a graphite bulk crystals, and to create such kind of angstrom capillaries with the very talented scientists here.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're the poster boy of a traveling scientist, starting your journey in India, then Singapore, then Germany, and now in England. Wow. You have so much experience. I'm so impressed. That is really cool. That is very, very cool. So it sounds to me, Ashok, that you have been involved in a lot of interesting research projects. Already.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky to say that. Yeah.
I can imagine. So this is a very difficult question, I know before asking, so I'm just giving you a heads up. If you have to pick one research project that you're most proud of and most fun or quirky one, could you pick one research project and explain it to us in simple words in the section we call In Other Words?
Wow. This is really a difficult question because, see, my journey, it's a multidisciplinary. I started from a chemist into the physics and interdisciplinary. So I think difficult for me to choose one. But for the sake of choosing one, I will choose one, which is very interesting to me, apart from the other projects. So when we created such 2D tunnels, so we wanted to know if these tunnels are open or not, because we are just removing one layer from the middle of, one layer thick 2D tunnels. We are not very sure if they are fully clean or is anything stuck here. We can't go see. These are not like pipes where you can easily inspect. Yeah, so you need to know if they are very clean or inside there is nothing stuck. So we wanted to study the gas transport. We just wanted to put some gas molecule from here and then measure from the other side, and we wanted to know if these are open or not. That was an intention. So when you put a gas molecule such as helium, which is chemically inert.
Well, helium is the one which if you inhale it and then you sound funny. That's like it goes like the high pitch. That's helium, right? That's what. Yes.
Okay,
great. So
exactly. It did the same here. It made some funny observation. I would say scientifically very interesting one, but to say it's very funny. So it went through it, but how much we know the dimension of this capillary because we made it now. We know exactly how much size is it, and we can compute back using known theorems, and we know some X amount has to come, but it has come 100 times the X.
Right. Correct.
That was again very intriguing. Why this is coming so much? What we expect 100 times more. Yeah. So more than 100 times.
Correct. Ashok, sorry. So you, according to your calculations, you put in X amount of helium and you expected X amount to come out, but actually what came out was 100X. Did I understand correctly?
No, that's I think. Let me again simplify. Sorry for that.
That's okay.
Yeah, so it is not the X amount is a speed, a flux rate.
Right.
It's supposed to come this much, meters per.
It's the velocity with which it should come out.
It's coming very fast. It's supposed to come in a certain time, that whole amount, but it is coming very fast. Like, let's say you're throwing a ball through a pipe.
Yeah.
You expect to come with a certain velocity of flux at some point. But as you throw here, it's just outside the other side.
Oh,
so that means it is not feeling the length of the it is not feeling the length of the tunnel. You just throw here and then you see from the other side.
Correct.
The specular reflection is just coming out without having any interactions or any friction inside.
Correct.
It's a friction-free transport.
Right.
So that's why we are seeing a huge flux.
So basically when you put helium on one side, inside the capillary, because there is no friction, it is accelerated so much that when it comes out, it is 100 times the speed at which you had expected. Oh wow, that is so cool. Oh my god. So not just that your pipe your pipe, your tunnel is clean, but it's also, oh wow.
Yeah, something else is adding there. So because, these are atomically smooth crystal planes.
Correct.
So they're very, very smooth to the helium, and helium doesn't feel them as a rough road. So it's like a light specular reflection. For example, when you go to a nature somewhere in the mountains, a lake, you could see peaks of the mountains very clearly on the lake. Yeah.
Right.
So that's kind of a specular reflection. You see the light exactly in the water surface. Yeah.
Correct.
But if the water is disturbed and it's wavy, you don't see the peaks.
Correct.
So that is like that's not specular reflection. Specular reflection is when everything is flat and you could see exact image.
Correct.
So the light is reflecting with a certain angle.
Correct.
So exactly it is happening here. It's because of its smoothness. It's the helium is going as a specular transport wave inside.
Oh, are we going to this particle and wave thingy?
Exactly. This is particle and wave duality nature that we could simply see that observation at room temperature.
Oh wow! Oh my God, that is
It's a quantum property of a material that can be probed at room temperature.
Oh my God. I can imagine why you picked this as one of your most favorite projects. Let's put it that way. Okay, before we move on, I have one question. So earlier we discussed that one layer of carbon atoms, which is the graphene. So if the height of your nanotunnel is 0.3 nanometers, then it's like one layer of graphene. So how big are the helium atoms here?
So helium atoms are 2.6 angstroms.
So that is 0.26?
0.26, yeah.
Okay, so they can pass even with one layer of graphene, like one spacer, like one layer of graphene atoms as like the spacer layer, so to say.
Right, exactly. So the capillary with 0.34 angstroms can still allow the helium to pass through.
Right.
Higher.
Okay. All right. So you don't need to increase the height of the tunnel because the helium atoms can just pass through.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. This is so cool. Okay. Awesome. So Ashok, after speaking with you, it's very clear to me that you really enjoy the research aspect of being a scientist. But as a presidential fellow, there are other aspects of doing science itself, right? So what else do you like about being a scientist? Other than the research aspect and getting your hands dirty. Not really dirty, because we're always wearing gloves, guys. Okay, go on.
Right. So, the other side of my role is interacting with the young students, undergrads and postgrads in the department.
Right.
So we do also do teaching some extent and tutorials, and even we do supervise them in the labs. Those discussions I really enjoy more with the students. Apart from we have a lot of scientific discussions with other colleagues, scientific chats. But so these two aspects are very exciting apart from me doing a research in lab.
Okay, so the constructive conversations and the brainstorming that happens.
So the interesting thing, students ask very, very exciting questions sometimes. That part I really like. So sometimes I explain them and I see the wow-ness in their face that makes me feel okay, doing something sensible. Right. And sometimes they ask very good questions as well.
It's a fresh perspective, right? So that always stimulates really good conversations, definitely. So, Ashok, I hope your research experience so far has been wonderful and will continue to be wonderful in the future as well. However, if you had 3 wishes to improve your research experience, what would you ask for? And I'm not promising anything here, okay? Just like a disclaimer.
Okay. Right. Okay. So, as an early career scientist, I think what I really want is funding. More funding for recruiting wonderful people to work with and do wonderful science. And again, a chance to share my research with people like you, or even the researchers who work in my field, and even to the school children or broader public. So these three things require only one, that is funding. So I think I wish for that.
So funding, then funding to do cool research, like funding to recruit amazing talents, funding to do research, and third is funding to do outreach. So basically funding. Can we just go with the fact that just funding for everything? That's your like funding.
Yes.
This is actually
this is for the time being. Okay, that's my
for the time being. Yeah. Next time you're on the podcast, there might be some other things, but for now,
this is fulfilled.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is in alignment actually, because we recently completed, we reached the milestone of interviewing more than 100 researchers, like materials and nanoscientists, and we did like our own analysis of the wishes, the top three wishes of the materials and nanoscientists, and funding was like the top one, like funding, more funding, better funding, higher funding, always. So it's in alignment with our findings as well. I hope you will get the funding, Ashok. This has been wonderful. But before I let you go, could you tell our listeners what can our followers, the Twitter followers, expect in the week that you are taking over the Real Scientist Nano Twitter account?
Right. I think I will give a broad introduction to my research area in the first week, first day of the week, and then followed by I would talk about my research journey. Probably some youngsters or early career researchers probably find that a route, what kind of possibilities exist for them to excel to the independent positions. And then following day, I probably go into my chemistry side of the research. As a chemist, how we can design nanographenes and nanomaterials, and then I'll come back to the graphene nanostructures, these 2D tunnels. So I will talk about how we make these and what kind of properties that we could see, what kind of materials can go through. So I only talked about the helium gas going through it, but we have other exciting molecules of materials going through, from ions to the macromolecules such as DNA going through such 2D tunnel, and then how does it behave. So I will share that kind of results, and at the end probably I will talk about other aspects, what can be done, and more into interdisciplinary or a general topic into 2D materials.
Okay, wow. Oh my God, there is so much information coming our way. Can't wait to consume everything and learn everything about the nanotunnels, especially like graphene nanotunnels and what all can go through. And this is amazing. Thank you very much, Ashok, and really, really looking forward to having you on Real Scientist Nano. Thank
you, Pranati, and thank you, Real Scientist team, for this stage.
Our pleasure. Thank you for listening. To know more about us, do visit our website, thesciencetalk.com, and do consider giving us a review or a rating or follow, depending on wherever you're consuming this content. Thank you very much.